What's up, legends? Welcome back to another live stream with me. My name is Stefan Kunz. I'm a lettering artist from Zurich, and we're doing a drawing session. So I love to do these drawing sessions because it actually helps me to be creative. Plus, I invite you guys to be creative with me, which is awesome because then we both get to do something awesome. I see a lot of people already in the live chat commenting like crazy. I love it. I see familiar faces all the time, and I'm so glad to see them, from Kara to Supernova, to Lindo and Jonathan. So many awesome people. And so everyone who's new here, welcome to the live stream. I'm so glad that you're joining the Come Draw With Me sessions. And today we're doing something special that we haven't done before, creating an animation in Procreate. So this will actually need Procreate for the stream here, but you can actually draw it also in a flipbook style. If you don't know what a flipbook is, it's one of those little books that you can do, or you can just grab a book that you don't use anymore, or you don't want to read, and then just use the pages in there on the side, where you can flip through the book and just by going through every single page. I wanted to show you maybe kind of like this. This could be a flipbook where you just would go through those pages, and because you see only one page at a time, this is how you could create your own animation. Now, I'm excited to try this out because I have tried it out a couple of times and I want to play around with it just a tiny little bit. And I thought the best way to actually do this is to do it on a live stream, do it with you live. And we're gonna make some mistakes. That's totally fine, because failure is what is promoting us to come forward, to get better and to improve ourselves all the time. So every single step we take is one step forward, even if it feels like going backwards. We never go backwards. We're always keeping improving ourselves and getting better. So one of my favorite quotes: create something today, even if it sucks. That's what I'm striving for and trying to do. And so I'm excited that you guys are here. So again, see people from Austin, from everywhere around. Let me know in the comments, in the chat below, on the live chat, where you're in from. If you're rewatching this, please let me know in the comments where you're watching in from. If you're rewatching this at a later point, if there's maybe a better time to serve you. Anyway, I want to just say thank you also to all the wonderful Patreons that are supporting this live stream. So you can become a Patreon. The link is in the description, and how you can become an exclusive member and also join our live Q&A sessions. And we're going to start something brand new, which is it's not going to be a live Q&A session. It's going to be a live coaching sessions. I'm going to pick out one of those Patreons and I'm going to coach that person. We're going to do this randomly. I'm not going to choose anyone who is giving more or less. I'm going to choose someone randomly who is willing to do this in front of people, because that also takes a lot of courage, and I want to help people. This is one of the things that I love to do more, and see how I can improve you guys, or not improve you guys, just help you take the next step. That is what it's all about, taking the next step. And you see this on the backside of my wall over here. We create to inspire others. This is one of my favorite things to do. So if you guys are here and watching, and we see people from the Philippines, Malaysia, Brazil, Seoul, Bavaria, from Germany, California, Switzerland, Greece, Cyprus, so many people joining in, Italy, Illinois, India. Wow. So many people joining in, and I'm so excited. So thank you so much for being here. And again, you can become an exclusive member by actually becoming a Patreon, and you find that link in the description. Now, also just wanted to say that this stream is also sponsored. I'm going to sponsor this myself at the moment as well with the Builder Bundle. It's a letter grid and builder that you can use to create awesome drawing letters. We've used them all the time in our streams, and we create awesome stuff with it. And those grids help you to create amazing composition with ease, without trouble. And I love the one feedback we got from someone who kind of commented that on a review. Said it almost feels like cheating, and so many people have said it's going to help them even do better. So I'm excited that you are here, and we're already in like a couple of minutes, and I've been talking so much. I don't enjoy talking this much, but I enjoy kind of like spending time with you guys. This is one of the best days. Mondays, Fridays, Wednesdays. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And you actually can already see the next live stream. It's also linked down in the description. You'll find the link there, and you can already subscribe it. and already put the notification bell so you don't miss out on it. It's gonna be the same time, but on Wednesday. On Friday it's gonna be the same time too, but the next one is on Wednesday, and you can see there. So here we are, and I'm just gonna move this around. I have to probably change the settings here on the camera on top, and then we can see here, simple GIF animation. This is what we're doing. This is all of that. So we're gonna take a look into how this all works. I'm gonna explain how these animations work, how it's supposed to work, how you can use it in your advantage to make it really awesome. And I'm gonna be explaining that. And yes, Supernova thinks that I actually enjoy talking. It is true, quite true. Oh, I can see Ron just pledged $1. Thank you, Ron, so much. You can also use the live chat if you don't want to give monthly. That's also super appreciated. Anything helps, really. It's just fun to see you guys being interactive, being a part of this whole thing. So let's jump over here. So recently, Procreate, when they updated their design suite, their app, they introduced the drawing assist. And so they really focused on drawing and animation. So when you click in here on the actions tab, you will see, and I can zoom in here just a tiny little bit closer. You can see here on the actions tab, you go to canvas and you see drawing, animation assist, and you have that on top of the drawing guide. You can turn it on, and so a little menu will pop down at the bottom. So this is kind of how this menu will look. There's a play button, there's a setting button, and then there's add frames. So really simple, not much to it. And what happens behind it is actually pretty amazing. Especially when you click on the settings, what you'll see is you have a frames per second rate. So most programs will always show you frames so that you believe that it's a moving image. There's a actual frame rate that's 24 frames per second. So when you watch a movie, especially in the theater, it will be 24 frames per second. That is the minimum that is needed, so you don't see frames individually, but you feel like it's a film, like it's a moving image. Now, animation kind of works a little bit slower. They like to do that on maybe just a tiny little bit less. For example, here we have 15 frames a second, so it looks kind of like jittery. But if I move it up to 24 frames and I start clicking play, you can see it goes so much faster. I can speed it up as much as I want. It will just move actually faster, and you can see there, and you can see that it just goes on and on and on. Now, if I reduce that to, for example, let's say 12, like half of it, you can see every single frame animation. It just drops and you see all these little buttons. Now here is all my frames list. So you can see that I have about 20, 30 frames in here. You could count them all through. And now what you see here, this is kind of the odd thing. It kind of like starts to disappear, and there's so many information in here, which kind of makes it difficult to understand what happens there. So right now, also, if you're wondering, I'm streaming in 30 frames per second. So I can put that in my settings. Gaming, for example, is really cool to do that in 60 frames a second. The iPad is working at 120 frames per second to refresh. That means every time I'm moving things, it will move super fast. So megahertz is kind of like the refresh rate of the image. Now, again, here I see all of these things. These are called onion skins because in the terms of animation, and I'm not all that familiar with animation terms, but when you go into settings, the next thing is you see onion skin frames, how many skins you can see. I can reduce to like 10 frames all the way to just 2 frames, 1 frame, 2 frames. So it goes in front and towards the back. So it will always go in both ways. So right now, the only one, it will kind of like start to hide them and make them more disappear. Now you can say also the onion skin opacity, I can just reduce it. The way this is and why this is so helpful is that you can know where your last frame, where you left off the last frame. That is really helpful to see. And then finally, you can also change the colors. You can also change how the frame rates will play off. So here you can have the blend primary frame. You can set off like this frame here, you can tap on it and you can set the background. Then finally here, you can also just choose another one. You can duplicate that frame, and so you don't have to redraw everything in that frame. You can just move things around. that is also very helpful, and do things like that. Finally, again, when you go through it all, you can say like, I want to have it a ping pong effect. So it will go back and forth like a loop. What do you call that on Instagram? Where you have the back and forth. There's a specific word for that. I don't remember which it is. It's an Instagram term. You guys know that. All right, so ping pong, that's kind of like it will go in back and forth and then jump kind of like a ball. So you could have kind of like a ping pong match going back and forth where two people would play ping pong all along, and you would never see kind of like where it ends, where it starts. And you feel like, man, at some point, boomerang. That's the word that I was looking for. Thank you, Kiara, for this one. Boomerang is what I was looking for. Again, kind of like a boomerang, ping pong, goes back and forth, comes back again. So yeah. All right, this is why I need you guys to be focused during my live stream, so I can always count on you. So I'm super thankful for that. Also, I just want to say, like, if you haven't already hit the like button, that is also a way to help me out, is to just put the like on this video, add a comment, share it with a friend if you feel like, man, this person would love to do this, or just try it out. This could be a really fun thing. Invite someone else for a watch party. Let's do that together along as well. So we looked at the settings, we looked at kind of like how it works, and now what we're doing is we have to animate something. Now, before I get further as well, I just want to say what happens here in the background is when you click on a new frame at the bottom below here, it will add a new frame. It will create that frame, and this is kind of like all these balls. You see the shapes of the balls. That's probably a ball that is hit at the bottom here. As you can see, this is also one that is squished and just like compacting, and so on. Now, when I was drawing it, and I can probably see that here in this time lapse, whoa, there's so many things. Here you can see what I did was I added a line just to help me kind of like where the ball should bounce. Unfortunately, it disappeared, and so I had to adjust the background settings. So yeah, this is pretty much what you need to know to get started. And to also come up with ideas, this is kind of the great way to start thinking of it. So, for example, doesn't always have to be lettering that we are taking, but let's say I'm taking an image of somebody here, and let's see if I can just open that. I've never tried to just drag and drop like this, but it works. So let's say I want to have something spin around this person. So I'm gonna add a new layer. And I'm actually gonna duplicate this one because I wanna keep it in the end here. And so I'm gonna create like an oval shape here. And this is gonna be, like there's gonna be something spinning around here. And so I'm gonna use that as my starting point. So I'm gonna have a ball spin around this person, kind of hide behind her head, come back and forth, and kind of just do that whole thing again. So we're gonna start out with something easy, something simple to do. Let's not stretch ourselves too fast, too strongly, and kind of the idea of like any person who does some exercise, some movement, it's important to actually be mindful of that and just to play around. So here we go. All right, this is working. So now I can start going into Canvas, adding the drawing animation assist. I'm gonna tap on here to use this. Interesting. Gonna move this around. Gonna tap on background, gonna hide this one here. So probably what it will use as background is this image down here. So I'm just gonna actually drag that back because I deleted something on accident here. So you can only, see, I'm already learning something with you guys. You can only use the first layer as a background and not the other layer. This is weird. Okay, calm down, merge. Okay, so this is gonna be my background, and now I can start planning around it. And then maybe I can have some settings, no frame options. Maybe I can just hide it a tiny little bit. So here we go, we get to start. I'm gonna use a red. There we go. Interesting. Let's bring back the... Okay, let's see this. This is the ball. And I'm gonna duplicate this one. And then I'm just gonna drag it along. And I'm seeing there's something... Something is weird. Something is not working the way I want it to. Okay, add a frame. Okay, now it seems to be working. Something wasn't working before. There we go. Now it's working. Okay, so here I'm taking this ball. I'm duplicating this one. Now I can move this along. So it's just gonna float, and I'm gonna transform it a tiny little bit, like it's gonna spin up faster around, like that. Duplicate, so I don't have to draw the circle every single time here. It's gonna go a little bit faster as we go along. And we're going to duplicate this one. And we're gonna move this back there because it's gonna slow down again here. And just gonna tiny little bit smaller. And see this, the line around here actually helps me to focus on trying to figure out where the next one will be. So duplicate that again. So we definitely would be faster if we were drawing this by hand. And now I'm just gonna make this a tiny little bit smaller. And again, onion skin frames here, you can reduce how many you see, and I'm just gonna do that on a minimum, and then add frame. And I'm just gonna draw them now by hand. Maybe not make it bigger. And here I'm just gonna make it like disappear behind the head. And now this is the tricky part, is because now it's behind her head. It would be probably maybe here, add frame, and then probably there. I'm already gonna add it here. And just delete some parts, add frame. Well, it's sped up, so it's probably should be somewhere here. It's gonna slow down here a tiny little bit. And then it's gonna speed up again. Whoops. Oh, okay. So now you can already see how this is affecting. So this is the ball that goes around. And I realized that I have too many frames. So this one here, I need to delete anyway here. Not delete, just have to leave it empty because it's behind. And I'm gonna delete this one here, turn this on, and gonna use this as a background. And now let's see how this should play around. Like, as you can see, it's kind of ball floating around. And if you would add like a lot of lighting effects and all these things here, that is kind of like going around, like something spinning around her head. So this is kind of the basic idea that you have to think about when you're drawing, when you're coming up with an animation. You see like, all right, is the speed going well? Like, is it flowing nicely? And you can see like, oh, I can do this really nicely, going back and forth. And even here, the frames that I felt missing, we can actually go back here, pause, and I see like, let's go back to the settings, onion skins, and I see that the very first one, if we move that one tiny little bit back here, the circle would probably be complete perfectly. almost. But now you probably couldn't miss how you can do things. So this is also very thing that is very important, is that you start to think also of the canvas size. Now the problem that I couldn't add any more frames here, so if I would try to add a frame, oh, it actually works here. But you see, limited to 20 layers. That is because we are working, and so if you look at the canvas information, you see that the canvas has 5,760 pixels by 3,700 pixels. So if you're doing an animation and you're working, like you're thinking of frames, how many seconds do you want it to play? So it could be, I don't know, maybe on, I don't know, 20 seconds long or 5 seconds long, then you have to think about all the frames that you would need for that. So in this case, I'm using here 15 frames per second. If I speed that up to 24, you can see it's going super fast, like that. And the problem with this now is that I can only do it so fast. I can reduce the frame rate to make it longer, and 15 is a pretty good frame rate for animation. A little bit slower, you can see that it is an animation and all that, but you cannot slow too much down. So Jonathan is asking, the circle guideline is on the picture itself and should be on its own layer. So the circle, I had to draw it on the layer itself, which is kind of stupid because you want to have some guidelines. So even when I was drawing the ball, so let's go out of this project here. When I was drawing the ball, you want to have those guidelines where the element is moving, what is happening. You kind of want to think about that beforehand. So you want to create like a storyboard of how this whole thing should work. So to work on a great storyboard, I kind of like to use this app here. It's called Over. It should probably do something very soon. So I can have a journal, and I can go in here, add a little 3x3 storyboard, and now I can just start drawing. So I can imagine that I want to have maybe a piece like this that will grow to this size, kind of like that, right? So now it's this size here. So kind of you can help yourself, like giving all these information that you need, feel you need, like it's growing shape. And you want to start creating that story, that idea that forms inside your head. So I want this to grow out, and then I want somehow to kind of like these shapes that it becomes an E. So we'll try to, like these pieces will start to shrink, and it will create the perfect E. When it has created that perfect E, I want it to switch around to, I need to think of something that will work easily for me, just not to make it too difficult right at the beginning. Then it will kind of like pop over to the corner here maybe. So we'll have like a movement that will drag over. Or we can just leave it as is. But what I essentially wanted to do is, maybe we'll just leave it where it is. Maybe we'll just skip this one here. I can just actually copy here. Copy this. And then what I wanted to do is to create an extrusion, and like it will start growing into a 3D letter. So this will come out and will grow 3D, turn into E. And then finally, what happens after that, I kind of want to have it all disappear. So maybe this is crazy. Maybe this is way too much already for me to do, especially in the live stream. I don't know. But hey, we're bold. We're trying out something new, right? So I want kind of like something like a swindle thing going around, and as it goes up, or as it comes down, it will start to fade out the letter. So in this case here, it will start to fade out all these elements and fade out. Now what I always want to do or happen is at some point it loops around and perfectly, so it comes back to this shape, or the shape actually will appear again somewhere and it will grow to the shape, and then we can link back to the beginning. I hope that makes sense. So here we go. We're trying this out, see where it happens. And now the thing is, I'm asking myself is, where should I start? So I'm starting with a small canvas, so probably just full HD, maybe a Instagram story style letter. I'm gonna definitely use the letter builder to just create a simple E. The extrusion should be simple, and then just turn around. Now let's try maybe first thing first is creating this letter. Well, we can work backwards. That's a cool thing about lettering animation, is we can reverse engineer parts. So we're gonna start off with just drawing the E. That is probably the most essential part, having a great E, and then working backwards. And we can hopefully also introduce a lot of elements in between too, if we want to. So first, let's grab a canvas, same as this one here. We're going into the settings, and we have a 1080 by 1920, which is, so here, that is way too big. 1920 times 1080, which is just a full HD frame. So nothing fancy. We're not going into too much details, but we're trying to see what we can do. So here we go. Let's use the letter builder. Let's start drawing our base, which we're going to use. So insert, I'm going to go back to the grid and letter builder, which I have here. Just a simple clear, way too big. There we go. Scale that up. Now I want to make it sure that I can add the 3D in later. So here we are. And I'm going to use my sketch brush, which you can, by the way, get for free on my, if you sign up for the newsletter. And if you haven't already done this, you can also like the video, hit the like button, and maybe we can get to a lot of likes on this video. So very simple E lettering. So this is the E that I want to use. I'm gonna hide the background here. Very simple. Not doing too much, not trying to go too strong here. Just really keep it simple as you can. Then what I'm going to do is I'm also adding the 3D already. So duplicate. And I'm gonna do a 3D like this, just taking down. So if you wanted to learn how to do that, you can actually just, I think I explained it in a previous live stream, how to do it. So I'm just duplicating a layer. All right, just like that. And I might already also color in this a little bit darker here. Now I want to be sure about the colors that I'm using already right from the start. I don't want to make the mistake to have to change it later, but I want to keep it simple. So I don't know where I'm gonna use it anyway, so I'm learning. This is all about learning right now. This is trying out something brand new. and don't want to overcomplicate things, because you got to imagine that we have to touch every single element of that piece. So I'm going to use this here. Let's see how can I get creative using this? So I gotta save this and create. I'm gonna use that share PNG. So I'm gonna save the image. And just to be sure, because we're gonna use different elements to it, and I wanna make sure that I don't mess up anything, because we saw that before, we have a background, and the background is very important, and so I'm gonna try to make that sure that it works really well. So the idea. But what if so let me duplicate this file just to be safe. Duplicate, done. And then we're trying to come up and understand how we can do this the best way. So I can put these two in a group, duplicate them. Take these all out of the group. Merge down. And then duplicate and duplicate. And then we're gonna hide everything that we don't need right now. And we're gonna start off backwards with the first part of the animation. So we're trying to think of all these elements. So first off, we're gonna close off the E here into a square, which will then reduce to a shape. So I'm gonna start off here, going back into the canvas, and we're just trying to do parts of the animation. So if you remember here, we want to do this. So I'm gonna start off from this part here, and I'm trying to move back to the full shape and then reduce it to the small shape where we're gonna start off the next one. So this, I think, should be fairly easy, and then we can see how we do. All right. So I'm going here into the drawing assist. So I have the E here, and I'm gonna add a frame. So I'm gonna duplicate this frame actually. I'm gonna choose black. And I'm gonna start closing off here. Or actually, you know what? I'm just gonna start off with something here. The E will kind of retract there. I'm gonna duplicate this frame here again. So this is gonna be a little bit time consuming, but you guys are probably trying to do something similar on your side, or you are just using the time to draw. So again here, going back, duplicating this. Leaving that little gap open here. So now we got that shape. Like that. And then finally, we're duplicating this, and we're starting to reduce the size. Now you can see in the background, it starts to animate there. almost empty here. All right. So as you can see, now I want to see if I can do the opposite way around. The way you could do that actually opposite way is to actually just take all these frames and move them back. And that will probably be the hardest part because you would have to think of every single one without missing it. Okay, so this is playing, boom, and now it's going really fast, right? Okay, so let's reduce that to 12 frames up. We could introduce like in between frames, especially around here where it's kind of like growing out. So if we reduce the settings there, as you can see, this part here is happening really fast. So I could eventually, especially here, I could add like duplicate and see if I can just add some frames in between. Let's duplicate this one. Now you can see a little bit shorter. And the good thing now is when we're back here, so now it's a time where we start duplicating this part here, duplicate, and now begins the part where we need the 3D to come in. So I'm gonna duplicate this layer here. What just happened? So it will see every single layer as a single frame, which makes it so much harder again because now we kind of need to create this 3D element behind it. And I'm actually gonna try to solve this in a different way, but I'm not sure how to right now. But again, it's just fun. Is it just me or is it just fun to actually see how this comes out? And now that it's out, let's duplicate this one. Give it some space just so it has time to create a 3D part. So now what we could do, this is an idea that I have now, is to actually create these 3D parts that we can then just add on. So in here, again, I can take the whole thing here and move it in just a tiny little bit. Just like that. So now that I have all of these elements, I can just duplicate this, copy, or even better, I can actually just grab all of these, if I'm not mistaken, and I should be able to jump into another style here, importing, boom. So now they should all be here. And so now the game will be to combine these. So this will actually be on top here. Merge down. Yes. So we did it! Boom. Whoop. It grows out. Look at that. So that is fun and good. We're just gonna add some time to breathe here, giving some frames so it goes back and forth. And just to play it long a little bit more, going back and forth. This took us less than half an hour to make, and we could already use it like that. I like that. Okay. So finally, it's the disappearing act that will be actually really difficult to do. I don't know exactly how to do it. So let me just quickly re-explain how this was. So how do we do this again here? So I created all of these pieces, these 3D pieces in the other layer. So I duplicated some layers. I then copied all these layers, like I just erased some parts by just making them smaller, and then took them over like this. You can go back on the layer, on gallery, import that into your other project, which is a huge time saver, if you ask me. And then you have this piece here, and then you combine them with the other letters. Now this is how you get started. So now what I want to do is actually, I'm gonna use here, this layer here. I'll use that as a background, and I'm gonna draw a disappearing act. A poof would kind of be crazy, but kind of like a ball that will just appear and then start swirling around the E, and as it swirls around, it will start to disappear behind it. Not sure if that's gonna work. We're just gonna try it out. So it's gonna start here. Why is it not drawing? Oh, okay, I see now. So we're gonna duplicate this again, and I'm gonna start, have this ball go back here. So it kind of would have to do something like that. But how would it then disappear? How could you erase the letter nicely without... We'll have to figure it out. So I'm gonna use this here. As the... Oh, I see. I need to put it all the way down, so I can delete these because I don't feel like I need them anymore. And let's see, background. There we go. Should I be able to reduce the opacity? I should, yes. Okay, so now comes the element with the ball. So here we're going to duplicate, and we're gonna take the ball here that will just start to pop up. just with this tiny little dot, nothing too fancy, nothing too crazy. And then it's gonna start growing and also moving along. So duplicate. As you can see, it's already growing, maybe not too much. Always have to think of moving this ball along because it's not just the ball. So it's going faster. So the pace is going faster, so it should move a little bit, like exponentially move faster forward. So settings, I need to see more onion skins here. So kind of this movement, this grows. So, whoops, wrong frame. So that already starts to hide it. And so that part will be gone. Let's see if we can duplicate this. So what we have to do always, all the time, is to try it out. You're never sure if it's gonna work. Oh, there's something that I pressed here that I shouldn't have. So right now it's all theory. I'm not sure whether or not it's gonna work. You can do that in Photoshop actually too if you want to, and you can do that in there as well.
You have to be your biggest fan, and when things are really tough and they're really rough and nothing's working, but there's something inside of you that says, I just have to follow that, because you don't know who you're going to be.
Turn back on all the layers. Now, the last color I use is here. So this is going around. Can I actually change that to? No. Kind of messing with the whole drawing here, but hey. Whew. All right, let me just hide the background here in the beginning. Let's see what happens. The part here, as soon as it starts here, that's where it's getting messy, so I'm not happy with this part. So I'm going to try to come up with a different idea. Delete. What else could we do? We could make it disappear again. We could make the whole thing. So let's see. We can actually. So from here to here, it will shrink down. So let's see if we can actually delete this one, delete this one. Okay, so this is actually the one duplicate. If I take this here, and then start scaling it down here. So kind of moves around and goes back. So let's see, this is the last one, then there's none here. That, so it's kind of like going back, like the 3D extrusion goes up, or the 3D extrusion goes behind and it goes back with it. And then we could kind of like do the whole reverse from there on, but we have to move it all back there. But what I can also do is start duplicating this one here. looping. Kind of want to like have a swirl where it just takes around and it comes back up. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. Okay, so we can see what we can do with this animation. As you can see, there's a lot of frames. The disappearing ad could definitely happen a lot better here, but why not try out something new? So we start off with the E that we drew in with using the grid builder. So we that's the basic shape that we used. We then reverse it, going back, filling it out into a shape that we had in mind. We tried, and then we reversed all the order of all those frames. Then adding the 3D by just copying it from a different layer, by preparing this all in a different, and just making sure that all these frames worked. And then finally, we tried the loop thing around, and I definitely have to try some more things about it. There's a lot of things that could really work really cool. And then finally, we made the whole disappearing act go the other way, where it's the 3D, it goes back down to the 3D, doesn't extrude, but it just goes down, and then it starts to swirl around and out into a little dot and then disappears. And if we look the whole thing again, you can see how this whole thing happens. I like it. I'm excited about it. This is really cool. So yeah, I hope you learned something new again here. I hope that you enjoyed this session, and I hope that you are trying this out at home, that you are giving this a go. You're trying out to maybe take an old piece that you've already done and try to animate something on top of it. You can use pictures, you can use, you can add some glow around. Like one cool thing that I've seen over and over again is just, well, if you go back to, if we say, for example, this one here. I did that just before doing the YouTube live. I started that on Instagram live, tried to show this, and kind of like following just some paths here, highlighting some elements. This is of course going a little bit too fast. So if we reduce it down to 10, like boom, you can start off from different parts of the letter. You can go around. You could also, let's see if we can just scrap all of this. If I can just create here, start with a frame, use maybe, I don't know, a cool brush, going to the luminance parts here, for example, the light pen. And let's say like we'll have a part here, add frame. As you can see, you can just follow just the shape around of somebody here.
Miss that smile, Lord knows I ain't seen that in a while, but it's your style, so something must be up keeping you down. You a queen that must be heaven sent. Pray my soul, I must repent for not telling you what I meant and how I felt. Honestly, I'm used to throwing wishes in a well. My conscience tells me that I could have helped without fail. Actions speak louder than words, and that's a lesson that I learned all by myself. Let her know, I gotta let her know that she my white horse, she my medical, she like my baby mama, know how to take care of me,
Etc., etc. And then when you play it back, you see like you can follow the lines, highlight it. You can have some sparkness going around. Again, think of it frame by frame, how something moves from one shape to the other. The goal is to always come up with the transitions parts that goes around. You saw that planning is essential in this part, but then also just trying out things and having fun with it. Not just being afraid of, you know what, I'm not sure how to pull it off. Then come up with another solution that could maybe potentially work a lot better. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this one. Don't forget to put a thumbs up to this video if you haven't already. join our exclusive member group, the Patreons. Link is in the description below. You also will find the next stream that is happening on Wednesday, which we're going to do together. So you can also hit the notification bell on this one so you do not miss out on it. It's the same time on Wednesday, and we'll do it on Friday too. So this is really cool too. And can't wait to see what you have created. Don't forget to use the hashtag draw with Stefan, hashtag draw with Stefan, where you can tag your posts. You can tag me in your Instagram stories. Let me know what you've created. If you've done an animation here as well, that would be amazing to see it. I cannot wait to see actually what you've created. And I believe that you have the whole rest of the day, afternoon, maybe tomorrow morning, till Wednesday, definitely to try out, animate something, maybe take an old piece, create something with it, and have some fun with it. Also, just want to say again, thank you for everyone who has purchased the letter in Grid Builder. You can still get that on the shop. It's also linked there. There are a lot of different tools as well. It's just the Grid Builders and Letter Builder, but also a lot of cool brushes in my shop that you can get, some worksheets that you can use to create something, paint brushes, all this awesome stuff, posters if you want some inspiration. And yes, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a great day. And till the next stream on Wednesday, see you there. Bye.